In the spectral afterglow of my earthly tenure, I find my legacy, much like a mischievously edited tapestry, being co-opted by factions whose ideologies I would have gladly eviscerated with both pen and tongue. I speak here of the far right, those self-proclaimed guardians of the West who, with breathtaking audacity and intellectual bankruptcy, have draped themselves in fragments of my criticisms of Islam. This is an act of hijacking so grotesque, it warrants not just clarification, but a scathing denunciation. First, to the matter of Islam. My critique of this religion, as with all dogmatic belief systems, was always rooted in the pursuit of intellectual honesty and the defense of Enlightenment values. The quagmire of religious fundamentalism, be it Islamic or otherwise, has been a relentless target of mine, not out of some puerile aversion to the followers of Muhammad, but because I saw in its more dogmatic strains an affront to freedom, reason, and human dignity. I lambasted the tyrannical edicts, the antediluvian prejudices, and the often violent suppressions of dissent inherent in extreme interpretations of Islam. But let it be crystal clear, my criticism was never a blanket indictment of Muslims as a people. It was an argument against ideology, not ethnicity, against dogma, not individuals. Now, to address the far-right charlatans who parade my words as a banner for their regressive causes. You who twist my objections to religious extremism into a vindication of your xenophobic, racist ideologies are guilty of a misrepresentation so flagrant it borders on intellectual sacrilege. My fight was always against the enemies of free expression, critical thought, and secular governance, whether they wielded a Quran, a Bible, or indeed the flags of nationalism and racial purity. You claim to stand against religious extremism, yet you mirror its core dogmatism and intolerance. You espouse the very antithesis of the values I championed: the open society, the unfettered pursuit of truth, and the defense of the individual against the tyranny of the majority or the fanaticism of the few. To use my critique of Islam as a cudgel at the behest of Christian apologism is not just a distortion of my views, it is an act of intellectual cowardice and moral bankruptcy. Let this be a clarion call from beyond the grave. My legacy is not a tool for bigotry or a whip for the far-right's crusade against diversity and pluralism. I stood for reason, for challenge, for the relentless critique of all forms of dogma, religious or political. Any attempt to contort my words into a justification for prejudice and hate is not only a misreading of my intent, it is a betrayal of the principles I spent a lifetime defending. Before I address the far right directly, let us turn our gaze to another curious and frankly ironic spectacle. The evangelical factions who have found a strange and misguided kinship in my denunciations of Islamic fundamentalism. It seems lost on these zealots that my critique of Islam was part of a broader, unyielding assault on all forms of religious dogmatism and superstition. My arsenal of skepticism and reason was not selectively aimed, but was a broadside against every fortress of unreason, be it built upon the sands of Mecca or the rocks of Calvary. The irony is so thick one could cut it with a scimitar. Here are groups who, with every sermon and proclamation, uphold the very principles of faith and dogma that I spent a lifetime challenging, yet they hoist my words against Islam as if they were trophies. They seem oblivious to the fact that in championing my criticisms of one form of religious extremism, they expose their own. My arguments against the perils of religious literalism, the suppression of free thought, and the dangers of mixing religion with governance were not a buffet where one could pick what suited their palate. They were a cohesive, all-encompassing defense of secularism and rational discourse. To these evangelical groups I say, you do not stand with me in spirit. You stand, perhaps unknowingly, as a testament to the very peril I warned of, the danger of religion, any religion, when it claims dominion over reason and seeks to impose its dogma on all. My critique of Islam was not a vindication of Christianity or any other faith. It was a call to liberate human thought from the shackles of the sacred and the profane alike. So to those who misappropriate my critiques for their odious agendas, know this: you have not only misunderstood my writings, but you have also exposed your own intellectual shallowness. My disdain for theocracy in no way translates to an endorsement of your narrow worldview. In the grand theatre of ideas, you have chosen to be the clowns rather than the thinkers, and for that, you have my unmitigated scorn.